B, we had a ton of battles, and you had the Georgia versus Auburn. That's another rival. Now, why is the
Hmm.
Iron Bowl, Ronnie, the best rival in college football?
Well, I think it's like what we talked about earlier. It's an in-state rivalry. There are no college, no pro sports in Alabama. It's a state, like Dame said, divided. You either one side or the other. There's no straddling the fence on this. You hear about family members getting into it about this game. The kids get involved. You're talking about getting flicked off by, young kids. I think they're being raised to understand the magnitude of this rivalry, and all the things that entail it. And it's just the bragging rights, right? Like it's just, the good Southeast. It's Southeastern football, the best conference in college football. When you get those two teams historically, looking at the backdrop of it, it's so many things that kind of determines and a part of what college football represents. And it's the importance of college football, right? Like the state pretty much shuts down. Everybody's watching that game. And, that's the one thing. It's kind of like Friday night football on a collegiate level, right? Like you get that from a state field. And it's, you think about some of the schools and the states where the college Friday nights are the thing. Well, you have that with a whole state. And I think you look at the magnitude of that, the importance of that game, I think the bragging rights and all the things that go into it, it just makes sense. And, you get into NFL locker rooms, and you start talking about that, and you hear the other rivalries, the Michigans, the Ohio's. It's Southeastern football first, but then it's Auburn, Alabama.
I know we've been going head to head, but Damien, I have a feeling that you probably agree with this. Why is this the best rivalry in college football?
I agree with everything that Ronnie just said. And there's a couple instances where you look at how far people have taken this rivalry, i.e. the Alabama fan way back when that poisoned the tree in Auburn. Or, you look at Dixieland Delight, the song that is so near and dear to Alabama fans' hearts. The first thing they say during one of the breaks is F Auburn. This isn't even a story to get into right now, but me and some people, I think it was the SGA president at the time, Miss Terry Saban, and Greg Byrne, the athletic director, we had to get together and make a pact of how to bring Dixieland back to the stadium just because they stopped playing it because too many people were sitting there screaming F Auburn. I mean, it's just there's so many different things. And again, when you see what it means to so many different people, and I think something else that should be noted when talking about what makes this rivalry so heated is Alabama. Ronnie made a good point. Alabama generally gets the sexy recruits. They get the big names. They get the 5 stars. Well, Auburn is a school that gets a lot of guys who Alabama doesn't have space for. A lot of those spots, a lot of those scholarships were already taken. So teams or kids from in-state, from the state of Alabama, they just end up going to Auburn. But then once they get there, they see big, bad Alabama, and they're like, I'm just as good as this guy. I should have played at Alabama. Nick Saban should have came calling me. He should have come offered me a scholarship. So guess what? Whenever we played him in Iron Bowl, I'm a show up, show out, and prove why they should have looked at me, why they should have recruited me. So I think there's just so many different avenues that you can look at, whether it's the fan perspectives or it's the players' perspectives. I mean, there have been coaches who have beaten Alabama at Auburn, and it has lifted their coaching careers. And there have been times where Nick Saban has lost to Auburn, and quite frankly, some people have called for his job just because it's such an important game. Now, obviously, that's nonsense, but that's just what the rivalry means, and that's what, the expectations and all the different emotions that go into the rivalry, they just play such a big part, and that's why it's so important.
Allow the Knoxville native here to point out that Dixieland Delight is a song about Tennessee. I just feel like I need to throw that out
Don't do
there.
this. Don't do this, Emily.
I'm just saying.
Don't do
I'm
this.
just saying.
Listen,
I did hear
don't
that,
do
Emily.
this.
I did
Don't
hear
do
that
this.
because the funny thing, before I went to Auburn, I actually committed to Tennessee, so that was the wholesale.
Okay, I know.
It's
the
our
band
song,
is
all right?
Alabama, but
We
the song is
listen.
about Tennessee.
Hey,
It's our song.
But Emily, they're used to stealing stuff, so I mean,
So even
he just
B,
called us low
you're
down.
even admitting
I
that
didn't say that.
Auburn
I just
was
said
your
they're
second
used to
choice.
stealing things. I
Okay.
didn't say
I opened up a whole
anything
new
beyond that.
can of worms here. I apologize. Let's continue with the conversation because clearly this is something that is still innate in all of us here at the set with our fandom. But Damien, how has your fandom and your this view of the rivalry maybe changed from when you were a player to now as an alum?
I think it's losing its steam a little bit, and not from a standpoint of how heated the rivalry is, but I think more of like a competition style. Now, I will say, whenever you see the Iron Bowl, you usually see there's been a couple years where, Jalen Milroe, Bryce Young, they had to make heroic efforts to win those games. But I just feel like the rivalry just isn't as intense anymore when I look at the play on the field. I don't see all the chirping. I don't see, not the dirty plays, but the plays where you block somebody through the echo of the whistle. I feel like, whether it's Alabama or whether it's Auburn, I think it might be Alabama just because, Ronnie, I don't know, maybe we've won the game so many times in the past 20-something years. Maybe it's just getting a little old for us, but I just don't see that. I just don't see.
We're gonna see now. Saban's gone. Y'all look.
Ronnie, listen. I'm just telling you. We won it a lot recently. Okay, maybe 20 was a stretch. Maybe I should say. Maybe I should say 10 to 15. 10
Ronnie,
to 15.
we bust y'all up.
10 to 15. Let's leave it at that. But at the end of the day, I just don't see that same fire just come out and punch somebody in the mouth, particularly from the Alabama side. So I want to see that back. I want to see, a lot of times when people talk about, even when I've been on CBS this past season, people are talking about, is Tennessee a bigger rival than Auburn? Is LSU a bigger rival than Auburn? And I think that's because the style of play looks a little bit different. Maybe the coaching seems different. Maybe just the intensity in the games feel different. But I want to bring that Iron Bowl back. I want it to be like, no, Auburn is our biggest rival. We don't care about nothing else. We don't care about nobody else other than winning national championships and beating Auburn. Like, I want to see that get back. So I don't know. I think that it's got room to grow back into what it once was. Y'all can tell me if y'all disagree.
Yeah, Ronnie, what do you think?
I mean, that's a good part of it, and I think the essence of the game has changed a little bit. We talk about, I know Coach Saban's topic is NIL, but also just the impact of social media. A lot of these young men are growing up high school teammates. They're talking, they're fans, they're friends of one another. So I think the essence of the game has changed, also with the rules, right? Like, you can't do what you did in the early 2000s. Like, we had a rule, like if you were going across the middle of the field, like, you had to catch the ball because you were going to get hit anyway. And so I think they've changed a lot of that, and so made the game a little safer, but also, the way that social media has impacted, NIL has impacted. You don't get guys to be a part of the rivalry for 3, 4, 5 years because they're now at different places. They're coming in. They may not understand the importance of that rivalry, the impact of that rivalry for college football. So I think there are a few factors that factor in. As of late, Coach Saban era, like, they did do a good job of probably harnessing the majority of those wins. But I think it's too cyclical. You look at the SEC, there are so many good teams. There's a reason that, Texas and Oklahoma want to come get in the SEC. And so now you look at it and say, okay, now guys are starting to go around. Florida had their run in the late 90s. Like, then you get to 2000s, like, we were doing our thing. And then you got Alabama goes on their run. Now you get Georgia to get a part of it. And so you look at the rivalry, the game's changed a little bit, but I'm with Dame. I'm like, the importance of that rivalry, to restore itself. And the question is, how do you do that? Like, in the essence and in the midst of all this happening, amongst college football. But it is good for the game. It is good for the comfort. It is good for the TV ratings. It's good for every part of college football when this rivalry is what it is.
Yeah, back in the day, we had to figure it out. You had to win your state for one. Then you had to go and win the state of Tennessee. And then you go over and you say, you know what, we're going to win the state of Georgia. And that's when you knew that you were like the true champions of the SEC. And I think we're missing that because a lot of these young kids are still bouncing around trying to figure themselves out. Like, it would crush me if I had to transfer to Auburn. Like, I wouldn't do it. I would sit out and I was like, you know what? I would rather go all the way up north so far away that I don't have to hear that. Like, just to put those colors on, like orange and blue at the same time, yuck. But B.
Hey, what did my guy say? He said blood. What? Red is the color of blood, right? And you don't get blood on my uniform. Ain't that what we heard? I think we all heard that, right?
I went mute for a quick second when you were saying that. I just know that orange and blue
that's what
makes
one
me
of the
cute.
greatest, if not the greatest actor in the world said about that color, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Listen,
can you help me?
I'm just going to interject to say this. I'm with Ronnie right here, just saying that Denzel's the best actor on the planet. Like, I did not come in here thinking I was going to agree with an Auburn guy about anything today, but
Wow.
hats off to you,
I love
Ronnie.
it.
Hey man, we got two things now. You got to agree on the running back position too. Now,
Well,
man.
yeah, for
Importance
sure,
of-
for sure.
Okay,
For sure.
so I'm
We're all
just all
becoming
right.
friends.
All
Let's split apart again.
For a
Smith.
quick second. Now, B, let's get back to it. Get your serious face on. Now, make your case on why your school is going to dominate this rival in the next 5 years.
Well, I think, like I said, the cyclicalness of, college football, like, Alabama had its run. You can only collect talent for so long before these young men start going to other places. And it's like, why would I be number 2 on a roster, or why would I have to go compete when I can go to these other schools and get an opportunity, and you're incentivized, financially as well. And so when you look at that and saying, okay, like, the only way to the NFL is to play the game of football. Well, the only way to play is to participate in the games, and you got to go somewhere where there's opportunity. And so you look across college football now, like, you're starting to see a lot of these teams getting away from spring football, spring games, because you're getting a lot of poachers. You're looking at guys that are looking at rosters and they're saying, okay, let me go see who we can pick off. And so I think that's just the essence of it. Obviously, a breath of fresh air. We need to solidify the foundation. We had some turnover in the coaching staff, as you guys did in the early 2000s, right? I think, you guys went through between 99 and 2005, a few coaches. Auburn's been in that the last few years. And so I think with stability comes, understanding and, I think normalizing that. And so if we can do that, now you get a consistent recruiting class, you get a consistent scheme and approach that makes things better. And then you produce a better product. And so I think that's where Auburn is the last few years, this last 2 years in particular, from a recruiting standpoint. I think we've won that battle. And so I think that transitions into hopefully play on the field.
All right, Damian, you get the last word here. Make the case for Alabama. Why do the Crimson Tide dominate this rivalry the next 5 years?
Emily Proud, I feel like you might not be too surprised by what I'm about to say, but the only thing that gives me confidence that Alabama is going to continue to dominate this rivalry is the fact that we've dominated it the past couple years and more on the recent side of history. I mean, I can't not be honest with you guys and say that I wasn't disappointed in what I saw from Kalen DeBoer, that whole entire Alabama team, the program as a whole. Like, I was disappointed. A lot of other fans were disappointed. A lot of former players were disappointed, former coaches, just because that was not the product that we were expecting to see step on the field for Alabama last year. Especially, I know that it's tough shoes to fill, trying to replace Nick Saban and the regime that he built, but coming off of that high, that euphoria that, almost hasn't been done in the history of college football. I mean, there have been a couple other coaches, programs, runs that have come close, but not quite what Nick Saban was able to do. Seeing what we saw last year, it was a little bit of a disappointment and a bad taste in people's mouths. So going into this season, I have a lot of questions. I mean, some for DeBoer, the quarterback situation. I don't know who's going to win that battle. Last year, Alabama couldn't really run the ball as dominantly as they have in years past. And I wonder what that's going to be like this year, losing Justice Hayes to Michigan. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, they couldn't stop a nosebleed last year. I mean, it was hard to stop people in the run game, in the pass game. We saw what Diego Pavia was able to do to them last year. I mean, hell, he looked like Johnny Manziel out there. So if I'm just looking at this Alabama team, I'm not going out here saying, oh, I've got a ton of confidence. I think they're going to do this year. I think they're going to do that this year. So I know this ain't really a good argument, Proud, but history tends to repeat itself.
You making my argument, right?
I know. But listen, but Ronnie, one thing you got to, Ronnie, I was going to say, one thing you got to respect about me is the fact that I'm keeping it real. Like, I'm not just going to get up here and say, okay, well, listen, I played at Alabama. I'm a fan of Alabama. Oh, they had a bad year last year, but they're automatically going to bounce back because they wear that script A on their chest. No, they got to put the work in. They got to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback. They're going to figure out how they're going to get their quarterback to match the system, which we were very sure that Jalen Milroe was not right for that system last year. We got to find guys who can get open and make explosive plays outside of Ryan Williams, which we don't know who those guys are yet. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, we did lose a couple guys. A guy like Malachi Moore, who's a 2-time captain, guys in the middle. We've lost a lot of people. So it's hard for me to be super confident right now. But again, the best indicator of the future does so happen to be the past. And so that's what makes me think that we're going to continue to dominate, just because that's just what we know how to do now. We know how to beat Auburn.
Well said from both of you. Thank you so much. I just want to point out that Smoke came into this segment with every intention of being buttoned up and just asking a few questions. But if this does not prove how intense the Iron Bowl is, he talked more smack than the two of you. So thank you guys so much for being here, Damian and Ronnie. And if you want more coverage of your favorite teams, if you are a fan of one of the teams in the Iron Bowl, you can check out Bama 24/7 and AuburnUndercover.com.